1600, let's crack on. We've got about, I guess, 30 of you in total across the board. So I've got a few sort of backup topics in case we get some tumbleweed. Not that we ever get tumbleweed. But the main one that I want to sort of open up to everyone here is what industries will survive this new crazy, crazy world. Seeing as though we're on massive lockdowns, I can't see the end of lockdowns, restrictions, no jab, no job, no jab, no travel, all that sort of stuff. And it's going to hurt things. It's going to help some industries like Amazon. Obviously, it's helped Amazon massively, but it's hurt other industries. So I'll give you a starter for 10. So being a travel concierge, probably not a good idea, not a biz model to set up. Anything sort of tourism-ish related, I think commercial high street is screwed forever. I think we'll probably see a mass flood or exits, as in businesses shutting down because they're not allowed to trade. And then we'll see loads of high street shops going bust, and and they'll probably be converted into residential stuff maybe. And also cinemas. I cannot see cinemas ever recovering, like ever. Nowhere near to where they used to be. And so that's going to be, like anyone holding Odeon or Cineworld stocks, I would be very, very worried. So let's open up. Who can think of industries that will do very well? So let's not focus on, I guess you can come up with, mind you, coming up with industries that are not going to do well is also helpful as well, because it may sort of punch someone in the face to realise that they're barking up the wrong tree. So, who fancies sharing some biz models that will work or won't work? Moving on. Feel free to pop your hand up in the clubhouse, or even type in the Facebook group, in the Facebook chat. So Robbie Puzo has said, people love to travel. That is so true. I'm itching for a sunny holiday. And so I think eventually people are just going to suck it up and go, yeah, whatever, I'll jump through whatever hoop you want me to jump through. Just give me Magaluf, baby. So that's going to happen. And we're already seeing airlines saying no jab, no travel. So, Stuart, dentistry is booming. Private dentistry. That's interesting. How come? Is that in fact, how? Mind you, you're allowed medical services, aren't you? Okay, we have a hand up here. So, Habib, hey, mate. Good to see you. It's getting hot in here.
Hey, Simon.
Howdy. What have you got for us?
So I think anything to do with online gaming, anything to do with gadgets, drones, stuff you can do on your own that you don't need to do with people, I think it's gonna boom. So stuff you can do virtually, whether it's playing games with mates or stuff like this, Clubhouse, where you're joining online communities, that kind of stuff is going to do very well.
Yeah, I agree. It's in fact, in 2020 in the lockdown, I took up a couple of new hobbies which I never would have done if I wasn't so freaking bored. And yeah, one of them was FPV droning, where you put some goggles on your face and then you fly, and do all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I agree. And also gaming. I'm gaming more than I normally do, just to pass the time. So again, feel free to pop your hands up, folks, in the clubhouse. We're a friendly bunch here. And the question is, what businesses will survive or do well or even do really poorly moving forward? So on Facebook, we've got Joe, who said delivery businesses will do really well, and I agree. I've got a good friend in Norwich. He's a guy called Louis Blake, and he's the founder of Erpingham House. For those of you in Norwich, will know it's like the best vegan restaurant ever. Now, he's been absolutely clobbered due to the lockdowns, etc. So he's had to pivot, and he's set up a new sort of vegan fast food delivery service called Chuck Chick. So that looks good. I'm just annoyed that my house just doesn't get the delivery. So Louis, get me some Chuck Chick, please. But yeah, delivery it will be a good one. Rob said VR travel. Yeah. I mean, VR is going to take off big time. I see augmented reality and virtual reality going absolutely nuts. When the hardware gets better, the hardware is shocking. So check this out. Obviously, in the Facebook Live, you can see this. On Clubhouse, sorry, you're just going to have to imagine this big old headset thing. So this is the Reverb G2. It's literally the best VR headset money can buy at the moment. Well, best retail VR headset. It's like, I don't know, I paid about 800 quid for this or something. And it's supposed to be really good. However, like I had the original Vive, HTC Vive, which is good. I mean, the games are good, but I really can't see that much of an improvement from the Vive that I had 5 years ago now to this HP Reverb G2. I use it for VR flight simming, and I mean, look at this cable. Like, this completely pulls you back to reality when you're tripping over the cable. So when the hardware gets a lot better, then yeah, like VR really needs to be like swimming goggles with a far better peripheral vision. Like the FOV, the field of view in these headsets is shocking. I think this one is 110 degrees, but it still feels like you're looking down two bog rolls. So yeah, VR's got a long way to go, and I guess, like the internet, I think drugs, porn and gambling will push VR very well. I was chatting with Ellie, actually, my wife, probably a week or so ago, and we were talking about the progression of VR, and I was like, well, at what point, where is that line where when it turns from porn into full out cheating? So, like, I think most couples are happy if the bloke watches porn now and then. That's not deemed as cheating, right? But where is the line? Like, when VR gets to a certain point, it's going to be like, you're cheating now. Especially if you buy like a doll to go with the. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Sorry, talking about porn. I did not think I'd be talking about porn today. Right. So Joe's also said the packaging business for Amazon had a very good couple of years. Yeah, agreed. Any other suggestions here?
I think Amazon are advertising now. You can set up your own Amazon fleet business, I saw the other day. So they will train you, they'll give you all the tools, and I think you have to buy like their licensed style vehicles. But apparently, like, if you do it right, within a couple of years, you could be making six figures with like a fleet of your own 12 to 15 Amazon delivery vehicles as like a sub Amazon delivery business.
Wow. That's new to me.
Yeah, I saw that the other day. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool. I think I mentioned yesterday. Yeah, so that's good. What else is going to do well? Home care. Robbie, you're correct. Home care will do very well. Home care, and also, like as I mentioned yesterday, testing. Like Bill Gates and the WHO are trying to get to the capability that they can test 20% of the global population within a week or two. So that's going to mean there's going to be loads of like pop-up centers, etc. So that's one. Crypto accountancy firms, maybe, Mark. I think with the crypto accountancy firms, it will be more of existing accountants that will just add the word crypto to their website, and all that will happen is that they will give advice, which is what they can do, or accounting advice, but little will you know is that they will just be using a software like recap.io. So I use recap.io, and I simply plug in the APIs from all my crypto exchanges. It populates recap, and it just tells me my tax liability, or how much tax I can offset if I've lost. So yeah, so that's that one. Adrian, imaging hardware, software for virtual tours and house renting sales. Yeah, I agree. Like, this is one thing I said a couple of years ago, actually, when cryptos, or I guess in 2017 when it was booming, that there was absolutely zero reason why estate agents exist, like in the near future. Remember, what DLTs do, so distributed ledger technologies, all they do is get rid of the middleman. That is like the secret magic weapon of DLTs, or blockchain, as a simpler word. It just gets rid of all middlemen. It makes everything peer-to-peer. And so with the estate agents, what are they? They are massive middlemen that slow everything down. Okay, that's a broad tar brush thing. They are a middleman at the end of the day. And they orchestrate and deal on both sides. They get a cut, etc. But when you look at how the world has evolved since the beginning of the internet, everything is moving towards gross gross margin. So, like, put it this way, like the internet, we are experiencing trillions of dollars worth of research and development over 50 plus years, and we get this for free almost, like $20 a month or £30 a month, and everything goes back to their zero marginal cost. And so with, let's say, the estate agency world, it's going to do the same. And what is zero marginal cost? Like, first of all, you get rid of the fees, the exorbitant fees in the surveyancing, whatever the estate agent does, all the sort of the legal stuff. And so eventually I see an equivalent of Rightmove, which is fully decentralized, and where if you want to put your house up on the market, you create a listing like you do on Rightmove, and as part of the smart contract on the blockchain, you put the deeds, the surveyancing, all that sort of stuff, and then someone can buy a house in literally under 10 minutes. Because what will happen is that it will just be a smart contract. You deliver the funds to this wallet, or it'll be like an escrow type wallet, and once everything is like ticked, it'll be like, right, okay, you're the new owner of this house. No middlemen, no lawyers, whatever. And even the sort of the legal stuff will be done by some sort of AI. I mean, most paralegals, a paralegal is a defunct and obsolete job now. Even now, it's getting there. And eventually accountants are going to be completely obsolete. So don't think that, the whole world, especially the world, I come from a pretty poor family, but my parents bust a gut to send me to a very expensive private boarding school, and I was like the poorest kid in the school, by a country mile. Put it this way: there's one douchebag that rocked up to school. He had his 18th birthday, and he rocked up in a brand new Ferrari, and then 2 weeks later he wrote it off. That was the sort of school I went to, but I was a poor kid. But one of the what I've realised from just my pure experience or my empirical data is that in my year there was probably 110 kids who are in my year, and I sort of have like I sort of know what they're all doing, and I would say less than 5% of my year group became business owners, and the vast majority became middle line managers / professionals. Okay, so accountants, architects, engineers. Actually, probably about 20% of them that I know, probably 15 went to the military actually, and so and I think that's quite indicative. A lot of other private schools are the same. I think private schools or private schools like that, they gear a lot of people up to middle line / professional roles, and what DLTs will do is completely destroy that whole market. If you're a dentist, yep, game over. So sorry, Stuart, you will be replaced by a robot. Surgeons, especially surgeons. So what happens with, like, I know a few surgeons and I've picked their brains a few times, and like a surgeon, like if you take a cardiothoracic surgeon, otherwise known as, some people call it a heart surgeon, like a lot of people think, okay, that person will just do heart stuff, but it's not. It's like basically stuff in the chest cavity. So there's a number of different operations that a cardiothoracic surgeon can do, and like sometimes that surgeon won't have done X operation for a number of weeks or so, and so will be a little bit rusty. Whereas if you look at what they're doing with all the different AI projects around the world, like DeepMind, etc., it absolutely makes sense if you can. I think they've already done it, or they're very close, where you can basically train an AI every single human operation there is. Okay, and in its data bank or in its neural net, it will have, let's take appendicitis or appendix removal. In its database, it'll film and watch all sorts of stuff, and it'll have millions of different operations of appendicitis or appendix removals, etc. And so you can then go to a hospital. This is like in the future, where there'll be like a robot with a bunch of arms, and then you go and have your appendix removed, and it will be the perfect operation. And it will know every single bad thing that can go wrong, etc. And it will be literally the perfect, quickest operation, and you won't have any human error. So yeah, I've gone off one. I've got a hand up here. I'm just gonna thankfully, we've got Marcus Cope here. Hey, you can talk now, Marcus. Can you?
Hi, Siam. You all right?
Hey, oh, you're a surgeon. I've just looked at your...
Yeah, that's who I am.
Hey.
What about the AI that was determining what was a wolf and what was a dog, and eventually they worked out it was just picking up whether there was snow in the background. That was determining the difference.
Exactly. AI is pretty dumb at the moment, and yeah, you're correct. So for those who didn't hear it, Marcus' line's a bit bad. Is that there are some AIs which are pretty stupid. Like there's a picture of they're trying to get the AI to decipher the difference between a dog and a wolf, and it got a very high accuracy rate because all it realised that wolves tend to have a snowy background and dogs didn't. And there was another one where it had a picture of a special sort of fish, and what it found out is that there was a human hand that was holding this fish in most of the pictures. But obviously I don't this is not my field, but I saw an extremely good TED talk about this whole thing, and that AI is going to be basically removing dentists, surgeons, lawyers, and accountants pretty quickly. What sort of surgeon are you, Marcus?
I'm an orthopedic surgeon, so I do hip and knees. So we do have computers within the work field, but the first line was computer navigation, but it was not that much. Well, it was more accurate than a human, but it didn't overall improve things, but slowed the length of the procedure down. So there was no added gain overall. And the most recent robots that they have are basically haptic feedback, which basically the surgeon utilises the instruments, but within a computer-generated field, so you can't cut through something that you shouldn't, and it allows you to work on basically an image of what has been scanned in beforehand.
Yeah.
So it has come on a lot, and when I started, there was 20 years ago, there was nothing.
Yeah. It's I mean, if you look at Elon Musk's Neuralink, so he's got a machine.
I've seen that, yeah.
I mean, that is that does a lot of the work. It does the incisioning and all sorts. But I think with most things, there's always that Gartner hype cycle. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. That whenever there's a new tech, it takes a bit of a sort of a stretched out S curve. So what happens is that there's a lot of hype very quickly, but the hype always out-accelerates the tech progression, and then it plateaus, and then eventually the tech catches up, and then before you know it, you have this tech that can do all sorts. Take level 5 autonomous driving. So many people said it will take until 2050 to do, whereas Elon's got a car that is already driven from one side of America to the other, completely untouched, and that's going through crazy roadworks, all sorts of traffic and lane changes and roundabouts, and so thing is people don't understand exponential progression like they should, and it really does catch up on us.
An interesting mix of businesses when you all had his Neuralink things and also his Mars expeditions. So you just wonder, don't you, whether he's actually creating something that he can put his AI into from himself and then live immortally.
Yeah, that is the goal. I mean, if you look at the head of engineering at Google, a guy called Ray Kurzweil, his sole obsession is immortality. So he's 100% convinced that by the year 2040 to 2050, we'll be able to upload our minds to the cloud. And so his goal is just to simply be alive until then. It's with Neuralink, he's got a chimpanzee that can play Pong, that can play video games with its mind at the moment. And his next task is he's trying to get 2 monkeys to play Pong against each other, which is just nuts. And there was an interesting talk I had from a futurist once as a group of surgeons, and they were saying at what point are you, because we can replace so much of a human, at what point does it stop becoming the same person? It's like a vintage car. Yeah,
eventually
exactly.
You get a car that's no longer the same vehicle.
Yeah, it's so. In fact, this is something Ellie and I have deep conversations sometimes, and I was like, okay, let's say let's say there's a new prosthetic arm, and it's 10 times stronger than your arm. It looks exactly the same. No one would ever know the difference. There is literally no downside. Would you have it? And then we kept on going. It was like, okay, so you now basically got a superhuman body, but then what about the brain? What about if you can? Yeah, it gets really, really murky. Okay, so let's get this back to wealth generation. So
sorry to distract you.
No, it's good. No, I love all sorts of topics like this. So, does anyone have any other industries that will do well or really bad? Okay. That, over the next few years. I mean, an easy answer would be tech. I mean, we're about to have a tech explosion. But I want to try and go more granular now. We've got like 10 minutes to the end of this. What actionable things could we really learn here? So, for example, setting up a high street store, not a good idea. Any other sort of detailed things? Okay, we've got another hand. Sweet. Howarth, hey mate.
Hi there.
Hey.
So, listening to a couple of these now, and it's an interesting first time I think I've had anything reasonable to add to the conversation. My profession is that of estate planning, which is not housing estates, but rather wills, lasting powers of attorney, personal legal affairs, if you like. And we're not busy at the moment because of human confidence, and it's a face-to-face process as far as I'm concerned. But I think we are going to be very busy because everybody's had such a huge prod in the ribs about their mortality.
Yeah.
And I know that you are interested in business scaling and all that sort of stuff, and something that's ticking in my brain at the moment is how I might scale our little micro practice.
Yep.
And whether I should or not, depending on how it fits in my bigger plan. But that's an example, I think. Personal legal services, and I'm particularly interested in how they might sit on the blockchain as well.
Yeah,
I think
that is interesting.
In that.
I think, because with what you do, there's a lot of... You have to collate a lot of data about someone, don't you? Like, where are all your assets? What are, and all that sort of stuff. I guess, at the moment, I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at some point there'll be a voice AI, which, can easily pass the Turing test. So, you don't know that you're talking to a robot. And it'll be asking all of these questions. And then it'll be compiling all the data and then filling out, a form of some sort.
Perhaps. I mean, the one thing that a lot of people have said to me, well, aren't you just, doing meetings and things over Zoom? And yeah, potentially I could, but one big important part of our world is whether documentation is contested, whether a will is contested further down the road. And we have to go to lengths to ensure that somebody's not under any undue influence or being coerced in any way. And over Zoom, well, ostensibly you can sort of verify that, but can you really verify it? So hence my interest in a blockchain application for accuracy and truth. That's true. I think the intermediate sort of stage will be like tech will help take away a lot of your legwork and make your life easier. Like here on the Facebook Live, Mark Adams has said something which is so true. He said, my accountant said he has reduced his staff by about 8 due to how good the software has become. So his margins are going through the roof. And so for you, if there was some sort of tech that you could like rent from Google that, did it all, and then you just remained the human that did. Yeah, and I think that's where it's going to go. And I think in the medium term, human experts will still be there for advice, because I think as we move into a tech world, people then start craving human connection a lot more. Absolutely, definitely. The majority of people who get around to planning their estate are 50 plus.
Exactly, they want a human.
And they want to engage with a human. They really do.
Yeah.
I can tell you from personal experience, they don't like you to sit and put instructions into a laptop. They like you to sit face to face and make notes. But that part might evolve, but they want the human contact. Yeah, agreed.
There you go. That's just mine.
Yeah, no, thank. Oh, Howard, before you go, I've got a question that I ask every estate planner. Do you mind?
No, by all means.
Awesome. Okay, so for those listening, about 10 years ago, I came up with a bit of a workaround about inheritance tax. So IHT, as you know, is 40%. Up to, is it 350k?
Nil rate band is 325,000.
So it's 325. Okay. So my workaround, and it's interesting because so far I think it's valid, and you're probably the 10th or 12th estate plan I've asked this. Basically, if you buy a gold Britannia coin, so
I know where you're going.
okay. So I'll just explain this to everyone else. So basically, if you buy a gold Britannia coin, the legal tender value of that coin is £100. But obviously, the gold content is a 99.9% pure coin. Like, let's say you're going to pay. I know, I'm just going to pluck a number out of my arse. Let's say it's £1,500. Okay.
Yeah.
So the going rate is £1,500, but it's legal tender £100 coin. So let's say, someone has a champagne problem and has got several million to, offload to their kin. Well, my theory is that you could put millions of pounds into gold Britannia coins. There's no CGT, there's no VAT, and then so you'll end up with X amount, I don't know, 200 odd coins or whatever, and then you simply pass it down at the face value of 100 coins each. Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, the reason I knew where you were going is I happened to have watched a video that you're responsible for about silver and bullion, basically. And that's the first category in a very long time that I can think of where I've turned to Jane and said, that's a bloody interesting idea. So I don't know. I hope you are right. I think it could be fantastic, but I don't know.
Yeah, I still haven't had I asked this to lawyers as well, and no one ever gives me like a.
It's because we don't know. HMRC are going to decide ultimately.
Okay.
But I mean, on the face of it, as you've described it, the answer is yes. That would be a great strategy. But whether HMRC have the same point of view is a different question, isn't it?
I see.
You need someone from HMRC to come and join the chat. The likelihood is small.
Yeah. So from your knowledge, there's no precedence then at the moment.
I don't know of any.
Okay.
But
cool.
The thought has been in my head for about 3 days. 3 days now.
Yeah. So okay, cool. Well, thank you, Haworth. Is it Hayworth or Haworth?
No, it's Haworth, like
Haworth.
the village
Sweet.
Where the Bronte family are from. Yeah.
Nice one. Thanks, mate.
All right.
Cool.
Speak to you again. Cheers.
Yeah, likewise. Robbie has said, so if there are no jobs, what will happen to humans? I think, so obviously no one knows, but my thoughts are that it's actually going to create a lot of jobs. So when you look at the internet, when the internet started coming out, everyone said, oh, the internet's going to take out loads of jobs. But it is the other way around. The internet created so many jobs, it was ridiculous. To the point where loads of existing jobs right now didn't exist, 6 years ago. Or 10 years ago. Social media marketing manager or whatever. That didn't exist 10 years ago. Probably did, but there's all sorts of other things. And so there'll be new roles. There'll be take the robotics industry. There's going to be shitloads of roles there. It'll be head robotics officer, head, robotics tech person, etc. So there will be loads of new jobs created. And also, I think a lot of trade jobs are going to be needed as well. So if you're an electrician, a plumber, a handyman, someone with hard skills, I think you're always going to be in demand. Because we are a long way away from a robot rocking up at your door and you going, yeah, can you put this mirror up for me, please? And then being able to, because there's a lot, it's going to be a long time before that happens. And also, don't forget, we are now moving into a new world, orchestrated and puppet stringed by the World Economic Forum, and they're going to be pushing all sorts of green energy projects, okay? Which is a good thing, okay? That's something I can agree with them. And with a lot of these green projects, there's going to be huge amounts of building stuff, whether it's creating, massive
vertical farm towers or whatever. I think there's going to be a lot of like hard skills still required. So that's one answer to the question. And the other thing is that tech, all it does is it sort of up levels humans. So if you go back 100 odd years ago, probably 120 odd years ago, humans used to farm the land, right? Well, we still do, but they had horses. Horses used to pull this, plow behind it, etc. And then we had the tractor that came along. And so what happened is that we sort of got up leveled. And I think that's what tech's going to do with us. It's simply just going to swipe off or get rid of all of the low skilled jobs out there. So if you're a truck driver, no offense, I mean, you earn it's a very low skill role. Yes, you earn a good living, by the way. I know a few truck drivers, and they're on like 35, 40 grand a year. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. So you can drive and listen to Audible whilst driving. That's pretty cool. But like when you look at it on the scale of sophistication, so truck drivers, haulage drivers, taxi drivers, you're screwed. It's all those sort of lower stuff. So humans will be up leveled, and then the world will have to issue a UBI, a universal basic income. It will have to. Okay. Does anyone here want to pop their hand up and have a little chat? AD on Facebook has said, if I was a teenager again, machine learning, AI, engineering studies is where I would concentrate. Yeah, anything STEM related, science, technology, engineering, also STEAM related, science, technology, engineering, arts, and maths. It's interesting. I'm completely non-artistic, but a lot of people I've seen a lot of people sort of put their nose up at the arts, but then when you look at the world, everything that you see and you feel required a lot of people with good arts sort of skills, whether it be graphic designing, also look at this iPhone that's here. There would have been a team of designers crafting and designing this iPhone. This mic, everything needs art. So I think that's one thing which is sort of overlooked. It's not just STEM, it's STEAM which you actually need. Timothy said, what would you advise a young person to do to be skilled for the future? I don't know. I used to say coding. That was my go-to answer. Everyone's saying that these days. But I've seen a lot of videos from MIT and also TED Talks where, I don't even think coding will probably be helpful. AI is already coding better than humans. So, I've seen a video where a human has coded up a program, etc., some form of AI, and then the AI's gone, oh, so this is the result you want. Ah, okay, here's a better code for it, and it just halves the amount of lines required. So, data sciences, I guess, like that. It's a hard one. I don't have a good answer. Does anyone else have a good answer for that? What would you get your kids in? Yeah, robotics, stuff like that. How about robots that will replace soldiers on the battlefield time? Yeah, that's a huge industry. That's definitely going to happen. So this is going to be the last top thing, and then we're going to end it because we've been here for half an hour. One of my long-term goals is to go massively into nano-tech. I think my students have heard me say this a lot in the past, but I really mean it. And I think nano-tech, there isn't a problem you can't solve with nanotech. There isn't a single real world problem you can't solve with nanotech. And I've put so much thought into this. Every day I'm thinking about nanotech. And obviously the reason I'm not doing it now is because I don't have enough money. So really to really make a dent in the nanotech field, you need at least £100 million. At least. Because you're going up against all these countries with unlimited budgets that in terms of R&D, but I want to at some point get enough money to really. Obviously, I probably won't have 100 mil myself, but I'll be able to set up something and do a cash raise. But with nanotech, you can do everything from medicine. Let's take medicine. If you had
nanobots, down at an atomic level, they can literally just play with atoms like Lego. So like, right, you have this sort of cancer, okay, the AI will be coded up on what that cancer looks like. You send a little swarm of nanobots into your body, and it will just hunt out what those cancer cells look like. And before you know it, cancer gone. Any form of illness, done that. It can fix. If you break your bone, again, you can send a little swarm of nanobots into your body, and it will literally just weave a new bone structure, like spider web type stuff. There's nothing you can't do in the medicine world with nanobots. In terms of military, which is where this first one, soldiers, you don't really need soldiers. Like, hell, you don't need fighter jets. This is why I think the F-35 and all these new sort of fifth and sixth generation fighter jets are going to be completely redundant. All it takes is someone like Elon Musk, someone as innovative as Elon in the weapons industry, to go, wait a minute, you're putting monkeys in a piece of machine to go and do drop bombs, or you're sending meat into the war zone to do stuff. You don't need it. Like, if you wanted to neutralize a target, like, all you need is just a swarm of nanobots. Literally, that is all. You just need a swarm of drones. And when I say a drone, the drone could be the size of a fly. And if you send in, a million drones into a target, like, you don't have any collateral damage. You don't need to destroy the building. It will just simply enter the building and take out the human targets inside it. Like, that is the future of warfare. Not humans running around a battlefield with a rifle. You would simply create trillions, billions and trillions of these drones, send them into the battlefield, and they'll all be programmed to do whatever you want. Again, it doesn't even need to be nanobot size. It could be the size of a bird. You just send, a couple of thousand bird-sized drones into it, and it'll be hard, short of an EMP, but then you can make EMP-resilient bots already. So there's a huge amount of growth in nanotech. From government projects to medicine to whatever. Okay, we've been going for over half an hour. I'm just going to read out this last one. Matt Hall, booming industry right now is food. I agree. One in particular that I'm involved is poultry. £1+ million GDV projects been paid back in 7 years. Minimum 5-year leases, market opening up from further, it's a long post, from further Brexit. Unfortunately, I cannot talk to you to other halves. Seemingly life goal is to make as much noise as possible. But, yeah. So, hopefully that makes sense. So, yeah, we've sort of gone off into a bit of a future tech chat rather than wealth generation chat, but has it helped, folks? Those of you here? Sort of meandered off.
Yeah, great talk.
Cool. Righty tighty. As I said, like as always, the recording of this Facebook Live will be popped up onto my YouTube channel. And yeah. Have a good one, folks. I'll see you tomorrow. Like every weekday, 1600. See you later. And room, and see you Facebook. Bye.